How's it going, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of Crypto Clout. I'm your host, Faze Crypto, and I find it interesting that 2019 is already being referred to as the year of digital assets. First out of the gate, this guy, Benjamin Lawsky. If you're not familiar with who this guy is, American attorney in New York State's first superintendent of financial services through 2015. And what's so interesting about this guy? Well, boom. He is actually on the board. Ripple welcomes this man, and a very interesting development right there. For anybody out there who doesn't think that Ripple's got the eye of the mainstream, think again. Very interesting. To see that it's getting the attention of these figures, who are already. And of course, if this guy's not in the know, then I don't think anybody is of what's happening as far as the establishment. I mean, this guy, if you do some research on him, he's a long time, guy who's had his ear. He gets a lot of information from the inside, and I'm sure, if he's taking this position, he's not going along to watch Ripple plummet to the ground. He probably wants to make money like anybody else. But in other news, we've got a lot of interesting things happening on the side of the institution. And when Ripple makes these inroads, with the establishment, it's definitely something that makes me pay attention. We believe the current price of XRP hasn't pushed because of regulations. And I think that this article is pretty interesting because it highlights how we still need to iron out a lot of variables on the international stage. But of course, bringing up the world debt clock, it is always something to be said when we talk about the fact that the current system requires a complete and total overhaul. And this, I think, is a great topic to bring up, especially at the 10-year anniversary of Bitcoin. Of course, we just saw Bitcoin turn 10. And this comes at an interesting time, because you have to think back what was happening when we first got introduced to Bitcoin. Well, it was the great recession, the great financial drawback, which again highlights the whole house of cards aspect. And I think that the establishment realizes that there needs to be somewhere, some lifeboat, some new system. And of course, if you're watching this, you're probably already hip to the fact that we're talking about XRP because it's getting the attention of so many of these financial bodies as things move forward. XRP ready to flex its muscles on the international stage, and I think that it's interesting. This article, of course, Ripple XRP in particular aims to distribute Swift. If it can manage to chip away at Swift's market share, even replace it in some areas, there's a chance that XRP could eventually become the world's #1 cryptocurrency. Now, that is very interesting. It's something that we'll be talking about more in this video, but I think Ripple world domination might be around the corner. So we know by now that it's a house of cards. We're all fundamentally aware that something's brewing in the background. There needs to be some solution. The fact of the matter is that the financial system has been just so irresponsible over the past 50 years, just accruing mountains and mountains of debt. A lot of people think this means the United States debt. No, that means us debt. No matter where you are in the world, this is affecting you, and there needs to be a solution. And this is no secret. There's no coincidence why we saw Bitcoin rising out of the basically the financial institution breakdown that we saw. The bubble bursting in 2008, whatever you want to attribute the problem to. It was a big coincidence? I think not. I'm pretty sure that it was a planned solution, and I think right now we're going through what is the probably more or less 10-15 year plan to get Bitcoin and digital currency, because it's going to be the big way that they essentially sell the public on the solution to the problem. And the fact of the matter is, interest rates where they are, unprecedented. The fact of the matter is that we're going to have to see this thing fully go all the way. And I mean, this is going to include and not limited to certainly Bitcoin. I think it's going to go. I mean, I'm not going to say that there's going to be the bull run to end all bull runs here. There's plenty of people who who make YouTube videos out there who will just basically completely tell their audience that things are going to be fine. Bitcoin right now this is the bottom, but I'm not going to argue whether or not this is the bottom or whether the $2,000 is the bottom. The fact of the matter is, I can only tell you how I feel about the current situation when it comes to crypto. And if this is the bottom, I'd say that we'd see, that would be gearing up. Once we hit bottom, I think that's when everybody's going to buy. And the fact of the matter is that the institution there's no secret that, the fact that everybody's aware of that Bitcoin and cryptocurrency is going to be, the next fiat. I mean, it's unprecedented what blockchain can really do. But all that aside, I wanted to bring your attention. This is one of the indicators. XRP community gets excited about Ripple's potential. Federal Reserve. I mean, the fact that these big institutions, they don't just fuck around and waste our time, communicating with XRP and all these things on a regular basis. This is really big news. I mean, this is new. I mean, if we never saw, I think that personally, if you want to hear my theory, it's that, I mean, the Bitcoin thing, it got so many people's attention when it was at $20,000, and then it had to shake off a lot of the bad actors and all these different things, making room for the financial institution. And it makes sense that they'd want to deflate the bubble a little bit and pretty much throw off people so that they could sell. They want to get Bitcoin sold for the highest amount of value they can get it for. So that the people who are really in the know can hop off board and make money. But it is funny when we see one of the markers of 2018. We saw plenty of various articles that were criticizing cryptocurrency, and I haven't seen many articles that have been criticizing it 2019. I've seen a lot of optimism in the space, and I think Q1 will probably see a lot of the same, a lot of the similar things that we saw happening in 2018. Let's be honest. But as right now, I think that there's a lot of hype, around the Dow Jones and the all these different things involving, for me, it's white noise, the stock market and all these different variables, because like I said, house of cards, the bubble is eventually going to need to let some air out. And when that happens, we look at student loan in America, student loan crisis, all these, reoccurring, the way they package debt, it's not going anywhere. And I think people who have been paying attention for any amount of time, are really aware of this. The stock market has been going down, down, down. So why do you think many analysts, think it, may, I mean, whatever, it doesn't even matter. So, I mean, whether we see money getting poured into the stock market or whether we see getting poured into crypto, I mean, the fact of the matter is that we're going to need some sort of solution. I mean, like I said, I mean, we're built out of house of cards here. You know how easy house of cards could fall down. You pull one card out and the entire thing. But yeah, since it is the 10-year Bitcoin anniversary, I think that it is useful for us to talk about the history of Bitcoin and how it came right out of the 2008 financial crisis, which I think, if any indication is of, they need to have a plan to get themselves out of it, to consolidate power wherever they can. And I think Ripple, the movements that we've seen happening, I look at this. I mean, Ripple prepares to sell millions in XRP to institutional investors. Ripple face tough competition, of course, but why wouldn't they? I mean, there's going to be a whole other influx of cryptos that we're going to see getting pumped in, and also plenty of the altcoins that we remember from this old paradigm, getting washed out. But I mean, I think that the present day, momentum is pretty arbitrary. I mean, Ripple price, XRP liquidating below 40 cents, venture capitalists optimistic. I mean, when I look at it, I just think, I don't get distracted by the day to day when it comes to these different things. I'm trying to technical analysis, the long term of what we can expect to see, and of course, I mean, it is interesting to see. On this year anniversary of cryptocurrency, how XRP has been managing to hold up. And I think that as somebody who's been in this space for as long as I have, making these commentary videos, it's definitely interesting to see what we're going to expect to be looking for in terms of the XRP community. I mean, I think that the Federal Reserve, this Fed payment system, all these new variables regarding contracts and the actual bones of how the financial structure operates, it is an indication of where we can expect to see these technologies going. So for anybody out there who's criticizing cryptocurrency and saying that it doesn't have a future, they're talking about the 129 billion where we currently stand. No, I think it's a lot of hogwash. I'm still filling my bags personally. I mean, I'm excited to see, but of course, this video is for entertainment, educational purposes only. Of course, I wouldn't want anybody to get my analysis and my opinion confused with any sort of advice. Of course, I'm only here to give you guys my opinion. If you guys are interested in connecting with us on our Twitter, that's at CryptoTuber. And it is definitely very interesting to see, how XRP fiat map, what's happening right now. I mean, if you guys were interested, the fiat pairs of XRP, I mean, it is definitely another indication of where XRP is aiming to go strategically as far as leveraging its presence on the global stage, and that is something that needs to be taken into account. And then another article right here, which we were talking about, this guy right here, Silver Investor, quote, we believe the current price of XRP hasn't pushed because regulations is so big part of crypto, and looking to build a non-risky and safe environment for customers. Now, once they pass this point, it's a whole different ball game for virtual currencies. Ripple support efforts to drive throughout regulations, and this is really the name of the game right here. It's essentially cryptocurrency needs to get its ducks in a row. It's unstable to certain effects, but it's not anywhere near as unstable as the US debt of the world, and I think that the entire financial situation, all the way across the board, whether you live in Portugal, Spain, or Turkey, you're in the same boat. And the fact of the matter is, what happens in one country affects all the others. And I think that cryptocurrency posits a very interesting decentralized, I'm not going to say solution, but definitely a pathway that as a global community, it's going to be interesting to see how these things develop. And wouldn't it be a shame if the rumors were true, if all the FUD was true, and XRP ended up, I'm not even going to say it, but I mean, it just seems so ridiculous to imagine that people can actually ignore these things. I mean, it's so it seems as if the establishment's making clear and precise movements to get things ironed out, pave the way for the hordes, and the bull run essentially is why they call it that. But I mean, Ripple XRP in particular is aiming to disrupt Swift. If it can manage to chip away at Swift's market share, and even replace it in some areas, there's a chance XRP could eventually become the world's #1 currency. Now that is an interesting note to end this video on. But no, there is some hope. I mean, I think it's interesting to see, and I think XRP is aiming for nothing less than world domination. And of course, this guy, on board of directors now, we'll be doing some talk about him in the future. But yeah, it is interesting nonetheless. Backmore Group CEO Philip Nunn says Ripple XRP is a better, it's just it is interesting to see how these things have been developing, and I think XRP is the establishment's choice, whether you like that or not, whether you like XRP or not. Hats off to the XRP community for all the work that's been done. But yeah, all that being said, I hope that you guys have enjoyed this video. Make sure that you guys subscribe if you watched all the way to the end, and of course follow us on Twitter if you feel so inclined to do so. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a good one.